The moment my mom said it, I knew it was already done. "Your sister's gonna stay with you for a while," she said, like she was reminding me to pick up milk. No question, no warning, just a statement. Like it was decided 3 weeks ago, and this was just the memo. "My name's Ryan, I'm 42 years old, and I live alone in a 2-bedroom condo in Milwaukee's 3rd Ward. Hardwood floors, exposed beams, clean lines. Every piece of furniture, every damn fork in the drawer, I bought it with my own money. Nobody helped, nobody asked to, and that's how I liked it. Sunday dinner at my parents' house always felt like theater. Mom served meatloaf with the same tired smile. Dad handed me a beer like we were still close. And my sister, Tracy, barely said a word, just picked at her food, acting too tired or too artsy or whatever excuse she was riding that week. It felt normal, until it wasn't. I didn't say anything when Mom dropped the bomb. Just looked at my plate, nodded once, and kept chewing. Tracy didn't even flinch. She smiled, though. Not big, just a little smug tilt of the mouth, like she knew she'd pulled it off again. Quick note, before we go further, tell us which country you're watching from. Tracy's been bounced from 3 apartments in the past year. Every time, it's someone else's fault. Roommates didn't understand her creative hours. Landlords didn't appreciate her energy. Rent was ridiculous. Never her fault. Never once. I took another bite of meatloaf and swallowed hard. Not because I was upset, because something inside me had snapped. Not loud, not dramatic, just final. Like a gear that stripped too many times and now wouldn't catch. I didn't fight it at the table. That's not how my family works. You nod, you smile, you eat, and then they go home thinking everything's fine. But on the drive back to my place, I gripped the steering wheel so tight my knuckles went white. I was past mad. This wasn't about Tracy. It wasn't even about the damn cat she drags around. It was about them, again, deciding for me. My condo was the only thing in my life that had never been borrowed, shared, or taken from me. No compromises, no hand-me-downs, just me. And now they'd picked it as the next landing pad for my sister's failure parade. I walked through the front door, dropped my keys on the counter, and stood in the living room staring at the clean lines, the empty floor, the silence. They thought I'd roll over, again. They were wrong. I tossed my keys into the bowl by the door, walked straight to the kitchen, and cracked a beer. Didn't even sit down. Just stood there in the middle of my place, thinking about how the hell I got here. 42 years old, successful, quiet life, and somehow still the family doormat. I worked the shipping docks in Port Washington all through college, pulling night shifts and praying I didn't throw my back out before finals. Got my foot in the door at a small design firm because I could read blueprints and work a drafting table faster than the guys with fancy degrees. I hustled, I kept my head down, saved every extra dollar, took 10 years to get this condo, and every single inch of it, mine. Then there's Tracy, 8 years younger. Came along just as I was about to escape. They called her the miracle baby. Yeah, well, miracles come with long shadows. She threw tantrums, they gave her a pony. I brought home straight B's. They asked if I was even trying. By the time I was 21, I was already bailing her out of things. Gas money, broken phones, failing classes. She'd call me crying, and I'd send what I could. I even covered half the deductible when she wrapped Dad's car around a guardrail. Guess who took the heat for not keeping an eye on her? She always had an excuse, always had a way out. And somehow, I always ended up being the solution. The real kicker, my old room at my parents' place. Long gone. Mom turned it into her yoga nook the year I moved out. Ripped the posters off the wall, put in mirrors, got herself one of those mini fountains. Whole thing smells like lavender and guilt. Tracy's room? Untouched. Same pink bedspread, same stuffed animals, same ribbons from a dance recital she didn't even finish. Like they're keeping it ready in case she floats back in with a sob story and no rent money. Every time she moved out, it was a production. She's finally on her feet, Mom would say, like she was proud. 6 months later, her lease would magically fall apart and the family would scramble to catch her. Now they're eyeing my place, my space, like it's just the next free landing pad. I walked through the condo that night with the lights low, beer in hand, and a growing tightness in my chest. My drafting desk sat clean, organized, measured sketches laid out just how I left them. My guitars hung neat on the wall, books alphabetized on the shelves. Everything had a place. I stopped at the spare room door, took a breath, looked inside. It wasn't a guest room, it was my workspace. Office setup on one side, gym mat on the other. It smelled like cedar and order. There was no room for Tracy, and sure as hell no room for her cat. I closed the door, walked to the bedroom, and started making a list in my head. Not of what to give up, but what I was willing to fight for. And I was done losing. I sat on the edge of my bed, phone in hand, fingers hovering over the screen. Then I typed it out. I work from home 3 days a week. I need the office space. I stared at it for a second before hitting send. No fluff, no emotion, just facts. Mom's reply came fast. Tracy's quiet. She'll adjust. Like we were talking about a couch, not a grown woman who couldn't pay rent and dragged a cat named Whiskers around like an emotional support prize. 5 minutes later, Tracy chimed in. It's just for a bit. Don't be so selfish. Then a second message popped up. Whiskers is super chill. I actually laughed, out loud. Like that was the deciding factor, whether her cat could vibe with my hardwood floors and shelves of sorted blueprints. I dropped the phone on the nightstand and called the one guy who's known me longer than anyone, Nate. We met sophomore year, back when he used to sneak Slim Jims into chem class, and I still thought my parents were going to help pay for college. Dude, he said, laughing as soon as I told him. You're 42. Just tell them hell. No, yeah, that easy, I muttered. He didn't hear the weight in my voice, or maybe he did and just didn't care. That's Nate, straight shooter. But I wasn't built like him. I was the dependable one, the fixer, the guy who showed up early, stayed late, and carried everyone else's junk without being asked. Saying no felt foreign, like I'd need permission just to try it. I hung up and tried Dad next, straight to voicemail. I didn't even bother leaving a message, just shot off a text. We need to talk before you bring Tracy's stuff over. A minute later, see you Sunday at 10, trailers rented. No acknowledgement, no compromise, just more assumption. Like I was the final stop on her little carousel of failure. I threw on a hoodie, headed downstairs, and found Tasha in the lobby. She's our building manager, mid-50s, sharp as hell, doesn't take crap from anybody. Hey Tasha, I said, trying to sound casual. What's the guest limit again? She didn't even look up from her clipboard. 14 days, total. Anything longer, they have to be on the lease. What if they don't qualify? I asked. Then they don't stay, she said flatly. Bingo. There was no way Tracy would pass a lease check. No job, no steady income, no references. She wouldn't even make it through the application fee without texting me to spot her. That should have felt like a win, but it didn't. It just pissed me off more. I walked back upstairs, kicked off my shoes, and paced my living room. The nerve of it all. The complete lack of respect. They didn't ask, they just assumed. Again. And I was supposed to fall in line, smile, and let my life get bulldozed because Tracy needed a fresh start. I'd seen that start too many times already. Always ends the same, messy, broke, and someone else cleaning it up. I picked up my phone again, thumb hovering over the screen, wanting to say something, anything that would shut this down for good. But I didn't send anything, not yet, because I finally realized this wasn't about texting. It was about standing the hell up. And if they wanted to force the issue, fine, let's play. I was still pacing when I heard someone grunting out in the hallway, like furniture against drywall. I opened the door and saw the new guy from 4C, trying to muscle a bookshelf through his doorway at the wrong angle. Turn it sideways, I said. He glanced back. Yeah? You got a second? I did. anything to keep from smashing my phone against the wall. We manhandled the shelf inside, wedging it past the door frame like a Jenga piece. Once it was down, we both stood there catching our breath. "Ben," he said, holding out a hand. "Ben Whitaker, just moved in last week." "Ryan," I said, "I've been here a while." He looked ex-military, close-cropped haircut, sharp posture, didn't blink much. The kind of guy who made you sit up straighter just by existing. Turned out I was right. Retired Army. Now runs a small private security firm downtown. We ended up talking for a bit about the building, life, pizza joints worth ordering from, and the ones that'll give you food poisoning by Wednesday. He cracked a beer and offered me one, and I wasn't in the mood to be alone with my rage anymore, so I stuck around. That night, sitting on a camp chair in his half-unpacked living room, I told him the whole thing about Tracy, the cat, my parents showing up with a trailer like I was just waiting to host another one of their screw-ups. He didn't laugh, didn't even smile, just took a sip and said, "Want me to pretend I live there?" I blinked. "What?" "Your place. I'll be your roommate. You step out that morning, I answer the door. Sometimes people only get the message when someone unexpected opens it. I waited for him to crack a grin, but it never came. "You serious?" I asked. "Dead serious," he said. "This ain't about a sister. It's about control. They're used to making decisions for you, and you're finally pushing back. Trust me, I've seen it before. This'll rattle 'em." I sat back in the plastic chair, staring at him. It was insane, but it also made sense. We made a plan. Ben would be roommate number 2. I'd step out that Sunday morning before they arrived. If they knocked, he'd answer the door. Calm, respectful, not hostile, just firm. They'd ask for me. He'd say he lived there and had no clue who Tracy was. They'd lose their minds. And maybe that's what it would take. That night, I went home and started prepping. Packed a go bag, laptop, chargers, cash, toothbrush, just in case they lost it, and I needed to disappear for a few hours. Moved anything personal or sentimental into the bedroom. Framed photos, childhood stuff. My guitar got locked in the closet. Left the main area clean, minimalist. Like a guy sharing a place would keep it. The next morning, I bought a second toothbrush and put it in the holder, left an extra towel on the rack, stuck one of Ben's business cards by the coffee pot. The whole place read like a shared home, subtle but tight. And the whole time I was doing it, I kept thinking, this is insane, absolutely unhinged, but I didn't stop, because it was the only thing that made sense anymore. Every polite text, every logical reason, every "please just hear me out," none of it worked. They didn't hear no. Not from me, not ever. I didn't want to fight. But I was finally done playing nice. Sunday morning, I was sitting at a diner 2 blocks away, staring at a cold plate of scrambled eggs and watching my building's entry cam feed on my phone. I'd barely slept. Drank too much coffee. Hadn't even touched the toast. 10:43 a.m., the white Ford with the trailer backed into the loading zone. Phone buzzed. "Mom." "We're here." "Trailer's full." "Tracy's right behind us." Of course she was. I took a sip of coffee and turned up the screen. Brightness. Watched them unload like they were moving royalty. Dad directing traffic. Tracy scrolling her phone, probably live tweeting the drama. Boxes marked Tracy's Jewelry Studio stacked on the sidewalk like she was a damn business owner and not a couch surfer with glitter glue. 10:58 a.m. The doorbell rang. Ben answered, calm as ever, button-down shirt tucked in, coffee in hand. "Can I help you?" he said. Mom blinked like the face didn't compute. "We're here to move Tracy into our son's apartment." Ben didn't even hesitate. "You mean my apartment? I've lived here 6 months. No idea who Tracy is. I saw Dad step forward, arms wide like he was going to walk right past him." Ben didn't move, just shifted his stance slightly, blocking the doorway without raising his voice. "There must be some mistake," Mom said. "No mistake," Ben replied. "I live here. Alone." I'd appreciate it if you didn't block the entrance. Dad's face went red. Where's Ryan? Ben sipped his coffee. No idea. That's when it started. They argued. Ben stayed calm, never raised his tone, didn't insult, didn't mock, just repeated variations of the same message. I don't know your daughter. I live here. You can wait in the lobby if you want. They didn't wait. They started calling, 12 times in 10 minutes. Mom, then Dad, then Tracy, back to Mom. I let every single one ring out. The screen filled with notifications like it was on fire. When I finally stood up, I left the untouched food and walked the 2 blocks back with my heart pounding like I'd just sprinted the whole way. But my steps were steady. Outside the building, I saw the scene before they saw me. Mom on the curb, hands fluttering. Dad pacing with his phone to his ear. Tracy holding a box labeled Bath Crystals and Tarot, and looking like someone had stolen her ticket to first class. A few neighbors peeked through blinds. No one said a word. I walked right up. Mom spotted me first. Ryan, she said, breathless, like she was relieved I'd come to fix it. Dad turned, jaw tight. You lied to us. I stopped on the sidewalk, feet planted. No, you assumed. You planned my space like it was yours to offer. Mom blinked. But we thought... That's the problem, I snapped. You thought... You didn't ask. You didn't care what I said, because you'd already decided it didn't matter. Tracy stepped forward, holding that stupid box like it meant something. Where am I supposed to go? I looked her dead in the eye. Somewhere you pay for. Like the rest of us, she blinked. That was it. No meltdown, no screaming, just silence. Her face fell in this slow, drawn-out way, like it was finally hitting her that the party was over. Dad looked like he was ready to throw the box into traffic. We're your family, he said through his teeth. Exactly, I said. So start acting like it. Respect my space or stay out of it. Tracy set the box down on the trailer's tailgate and wiped her face with her sleeve. I watched her breathe deep like she was gearing up to say something, but she didn't. She just stood there, raw, embarrassed, exposed. Mom looked at me with this wounded expression, but I didn't flinch. This is your line in the sand? Dad asked. No, I said. This is the wall. And it's not moving. They loaded up the trailer in silence. No more comments, no more whining. Just the scrape of cardboard on pavement and the slam of the tailgate. As they pulled away, Tracy flipped me off from the back seat. I didn't wave, didn't smile, didn't say a damn word. Just turned, walked through the building doors, and let the silence swallow the rest of it. The second the trailer door slammed shut, I turned and buzzed them in. Didn't have to. Could have let them stew on the curb. But I wasn't hiding. If they wanted to talk, they could do it inside, with me, on my turf, face to face. Ben opened the door when they came up, didn't smile, didn't greet them. Just stepped back into the kitchen, arms crossed over his chest, eyes locked on them like a bouncer waiting for someone to screw up. Mom came in first, clutching her purse like it might protect her. Dad followed, stiff, breathing hard like he'd just run a mile. Tracy slunk in last. No box this time, no words either. I didn't offer coffee. I didn't tell them to sit. I just stood in front of the couch and laid it all out. You've been making plans around me since I was 14, I said. I've always been the backup. The wallet, the emergency contact. I pay, I fix, I cover for your decisions. Ryan, Mom started, her voice all soft. This was just... No, I cut in. This wasn't just anything. This was a decision you made without me. Again, Dad raised his chin. You're acting like this was permanent. It's not. It was just a temporary thing. It's always temporary, I shot back, until it's not. Until her stuff's stacked in my kitchen and I'm working Zoom calls next to a litter box. Tracy flinched at that, but still said nothing. You're her brother, Dad said. There's a duty that comes with that. Family isn't about duty, I said. It's about respect. And you've never respected my space. You see me as the reliable one, so you figure you can dump the mess here and walk away. Mom tried to step toward me. We just thought... That's the problem, I snapped. You think, you plan, you expect, you don't ask. There was a long silence. Tracy finally looked up. You're being selfish, she muttered. It's not like I wanted to be back here. I didn't even blink. Selfish is showing up uninvited, expecting someone else to fix your life. That hit. She looked away. Ben hadn't moved, still standing in the kitchen like a silent witness, and I appreciated the hell out of it. No one spoke for a long minute. Just the hum of my fridge and the tension sitting heavy between us like a storm cloud no one wanted to acknowledge. Dad broke it. Let's go. Mom hesitated. Ryan, please. I didn't respond. They turned and left. Ben followed them to the door and closed it behind them without a word. I moved to the window, watched them load the last of the boxes into the trailer. Dad slammed the latch hard. Tracy climbed in behind him without looking back. Monday morning hit different. No calls, no drama. Just silence, sunlight through the windows, and the sound of my own breath. Peace didn't feel abstract anymore. It had shape. I opened my laptop, sat down at my drafting desk, and in one day, knocked out more work than I had all last week. At noon, Nate called. Did they finally get the message? He asked, already grinning through the phone. Loud and clear, I said. He let out a low whistle. Told you. Should have done that years ago. Maybe, but years ago, I wasn't ready to be the guy who slammed the door. Now, I'd built the damn frame. 3 days later, Mom texted. Want to grab coffee? No guilt trip, no bait, just coffee. We met at that little spot near the river where she always gets a muffin and doesn't finish it. She looked tired, not makeup tired, real tired, eyes puffy. Shoulders dropped like she'd finally taken off a weight she didn't realize she was carrying. I didn't see it from your side, she said, voice low, like she was afraid saying it too loud would shatter the moment. We babied Tracy too long. Thought we were protecting her, didn't realize we were hurting you. I didn't gloat, just nodded. It was the closest thing to an apology I'd ever get from her, and that was enough. A week later, Tracy, Amanda now, apparently, texted. Staying with a friend? Might look into therapy. I sat with it for a second. Could have ignored it. Could have unloaded every built-up frustration I'd buried since we were kids. Instead, I just forwarded her some therapy listings from the city's mental health site. No message, no lecture, just links. She didn't reply. That was okay. That weekend, Ben and I ordered pizza again, this time at his place. He'd unpacked more. New rug, big wall clock, same folding chairs. Halfway through a slice, he looked over and asked, Would you do it differently? I wiped my hands on a napkin, thought about it for half a second. Nope, I said. They finally see me now. That's all I wanted. He nodded once and didn't push further. That was the thing about Ben. He never needed a long story, just the truth. A month went by. Life settled into something that finally felt like mine. Amanda got a part-time job at a framing shop out in Shorewood. Still flaky, missed a shift, forgot to call once. But she showed up the next day. That was new. Maybe she was learning. One Thursday, I got a text from Mom. Dinner? Just us. Tracy won't be there. I stared at it for a second, then replied, Okay. Their house smelled the same, lemon cleaner and whatever candle Mom's been obsessed with lately. But something was different. They didn't interrupt, didn't talk over me, didn't steer the conversation back to Tracy every 10 minutes. Mom apologized again. This time, I believed her. Halfway through Dad's chili, he looked up and said, I can swing by this weekend, help you fix that drywall crack in the kitchen. I shook my head. I got it. He just nodded, no pushback, no lecture on how to hold a drill. That night, I went home, walked into my kitchen, stared at the crack for a second, and smiled. Still there. But it didn't bother me anymore. It was mine to fix, on my time. Work picked up too. Boss pulled me into his office on a Wednesday, said, You seem sharper lately. Clearer. He wasn't wrong. I'd been sleeping better, breathing easier, fewer headaches. That's what standing up does. It clears space in your home, in your head. Ben was still around. We got takeout most Fridays, watched old movies, argued about which pizza place had the best crust. He never brought up the fake roommate stunt again. Didn't have to. We both knew it worked. We weren't a thing, not yet. But there was a respect there, a friendship, something that might become more. Someday. Then Amanda texted again. Coffee? My treat. I picked a place near the lake. She showed up early. No makeup, no jewelry, no drama. Just jeans, hoodie, and 2 drinks already on the table. I get it now, she said. I didn't gloat, didn't nod or pat her hand. Just sip my coffee and let her talk. We're both figuring it out. Maybe for the first time. I don't know where it'll land. That's not the point.